So welcome everyone. Thank you for joining today's session. We are holding these kind of extra sessions. So give me a second. Okay. So welcome everyone. Thank you for joining. I'm saying again because there are few guys I just saw they joined. So today's session is about MPLS. I have prepared this lab for you guys as well, which you asked a lot. So MPLS was one of the topic which a lot of previous students, a lot of current students, they have asked about, because this is something which needs clarity, which needs some effort and time, and which is not in most of the syllabus. You have to go for service provider and then you can go for MPLS. So we are arranging this session so that we can understand from each other. So we will go through the lecture, this one today, and then this is the lab which I have prepared in GNS3. The version which I am using is version 2.2.5. So I will also share this GNS3 topology with you and image file. You guys can simulate yourself after we finish this one. But please try to open this version or later than that. Please do not open this, try to open this lab in the previous version, otherwise you will face some problems as well. So here I have service provider core and I have two clients as well, blue and green. So we will simulate that how does this one work. So first I will introduce about MPLS in our lecture and then we will go through this lab as well. So let's start. Kindly confirm in the chat window if you can hear me loud and clear. Is there any distortion? Unless your internet has an issue, so that we can start. Okay, thank you, Red and John. Thank you. So it looks like, thank you, Daniel, Israel. So what is MPLS, first of all? And which topics are important for the interview? I think why you guys have been asking about MPLS specifically and BGP, because these are the topics which we are getting majority of interviews whenever we go for an interview. So what I have observed, the topics which I faced when I was young like you at that time, it was OSPF, LSA types, area type, stub area, LSA type 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those are the favorite topics of interviewers. LSA types and area types specifically in OSPF. So we will also hold that kind of session. We held a session we hosted last time as well in detail, in which I showed you with the help of GNS3, a big network, and also with the help of packet tracer and Wireshark. I showed you that how packets are traveling and which LSA type is where. The second most favorite topic of interviewers is BGP, that BGP best path selection. Most importantly, they ask you a lot about BGP, the best path selection, and then they will ask you about what is local preference, what is med, what is weight. So these kind of metrics they will ask you as well, AS override function, all of that. Then the third one is MPLS, because wherever you go for job, when you will be working practically, then you will face that these are the things which you are working on day-to-day basis. There will be VLAN as well, but VLAN is not so difficult to get. So these topics are a little bit difficult to get on the first point. So we held a session on OSPF, we held a session on BGP. We will repeat those ones as well with newer topics. So today what we are going to study is MPLS, and this is an extra session which is free for everyone, right? And all of you understand because you joined previous sessions as well. So I hope it's clear the purpose of why we are having this session today. And this is on demand of you guys as well. You can also request whichever session you guys need. So once we have so many requests, then the admins will arrange with one of the instructor who will explain. So what is MPLS? First of all, let's start. MPLS is multi-protocol label switching. It is a networking technology. Daniel says, can you please paste the lecture first? Okay, Daniel, I think you want to open the slides. Just give me 1 second, guys. So let me paste the slides here first so that everybody can open. So I have pasted. Admin, please also paste these slides in WhatsApp windows as well, in the WhatsApp group. And this is the lab as well. Let me share the lab as well with you, Daniel. Give me a second. So this is the lab, and then this is the topology file, so that if anybody has internet connection and then they get disconnected, you guys can download it now. And I hope you guys have got. So I have just loaded. So please download from your Zoom, and admin will also share in the WhatsApp groups as well later on, so that if you are disconnected, you can download from here. The lab is around 36 MB, so that might take some time. It is still uploading on my side. So let's continue. What is MPLS? On first position, MPLS, from the name you can see it is multi-protocol label switching. It was a technology which came and which wiped out all other technologies. So everywhere today you go to any service provider, you can name any network in the world. If you were named for Vodafone, why I usually say Vodafone, because this is in multiple countries, many people know about this one. You can also see MTN, you can check British Telecom, you can check Etisalat in Dubai, you can check Bharti Telecom in India, you can also check Optus, Vodafone in Australia, you can check AT&T. All these networks, these service providers, almost all of them, they are running MPLS on their core. So MPLS came because it was very efficient, and then why we needed it, we will discuss in detail, because the switching is based on labels. Technically, we say this one, but in general terms, this is the most efficient technology which we got before the data center, right? So this is how it goes. Now, from the name we can see this is multi-protocol. Why MPLS became so famous? Because it was multi-protocol. It means if this is your network, this is you, which is Vodafone, right? So you have your PE routers. What is PE router? I will tell you. These are edge routers actually, where you want to give the service to your client. So your client says, I have a computer in Dubai, and I have a computer which is in Sydney. So I want to connect them together, but I have a problem that this side I have the connectivity in the form of RJ45, and this side it is also RJ45, which means this is Ethernet. So we will say, okay, no problem. You can just connect it here and we will give you the connectivity seamlessly. Another client, he comes, then he says that I also want the same network which you have already have given to these guys. I also want to use the same, but my interface is in the form of old transmission interfaces. Like I have one E1 line, 2 megabit line, and on the other side I also have E1 line. Is it possible? So we will say yes sir, it is possible, which was not possible before MPLS. If we go with traditional IP network, we cannot go multi-protocol so easily. Although there are technologies to convert transmission, normal transmission, normal time-based technologies, PDH, SDH, DWDM into IP network, but they were not so simple. Here we have one technology called MPLS, which converts almost every type of input. So it takes any type of input. So that's why the name is called as multi-protocol, means we can work on multiple protocols. We can accept any type of data, any type of encapsulation from client side. And label switching means the switching is based on label, not based on the IP packets. Traditionally, what was happening, if this was our client network, let me try to see, if this was our service provider network, if a client was coming, then as soon as the packet enters into our router, so if we have 100 router in between within our network, so to reach to the other side, each of these routers will open up the IP packet, and then it will read the information where it has to be forwarded based on the destination IP address inside the IP packet, IP header. Then it could forward, which was taking some time and it was putting some load on the router. The same thing was going to happen again on the next router. So whichever it was passing through, that process was making it very slow. Then a new technology came in the form of MPLS. In 1997, they introduced, but it took some time for service providers to adopt it. So after we adopt it, then what happens, as soon as the IP packet enters into our network, we assign it a label. That's why the name is called as labeled switching. So we assign it a label, and then that label keeps on swapping on each of that. So we do not look into the IP packet. Means the switching is based on the labels, not anymore based on the IP header. That's why MPLS does not work on IP layer. MPLS does not work on layer 2. So it does not work on layer 3. It does not work on layer 2. It is something in between both of them, and it is called as layer 2.5 of OSI model. This might be the first time you are hearing about layer 2.5, not before today. So MPLS is the only technology which is this kind of hybrid technology, right? So I can see people are asking questions as well. I will also take the questions. Please keep noting down with you so that we can answer all of them together. But most of them I am answering already when we go to the next step, like happy to ask something and other people. Okay. So MPLS came in 1997. Now you understand the name. Multi-protocol means it takes all type of protocols and it can encapsulate easily, and then it is called label switching because the switching or the routing is based on the labels. It is a networking technology just like Ethernet, just like IP as well, and the routes are based on the labels, not based on the IP packet. So this labeled switching skips the complex lookups in routing tables at every router and makes the data routing very fast. So the performance is very good with MPLS. That's why when it came into the market and it got expanded and it got accepted by each service provider, no one could survive without this one. MPLS can encapsulate packet of various protocols, hence the name is multi-protocol, and it belongs to layer 2.5. So this is the introduction of MPLS. Let's see in detail. Why should we use? What are the advantages? I have listed few of them here, but there are many other advantages other than these as well. First of all, scalability means you can scale your MPLS network easily with your provider edge model and route reflector model as well. So we will see what is PE and what is route reflector. So we'll see in the next slide as well. And this is the best carrier for the transports as well, especially with overlapping routes. What is overlapping route? In our traditional network, what happens? Let's say you have an IP network, right? So you are using this IP network. One client comes to you. He says, I want to use this network 10.0.0.0/24. I want to have a VPN from here, from this laptop or from this network to the other side of another city, which will also belong 10.0.0/24. Now what happens? Any other client which comes after that, we cannot serve him on the same. So another client comes, he also says that I want the same kind of exactly same network. Can you assign to me? So if this is a traditional IP network, then no, we cannot do it, because as soon as you can also try on your router in GNS3 or in your packet tracer as well. As soon as you try to assign the IP address, the same IP address, let's say this is 10.0.0.1. If you try to assign 10.0.0.2 to the other interface, it will give you the error. The router itself will tell you, guys, you are doing something wrong. This is not possible with traditional IP network. You have to move to the MPLS. But in MPLS, what happens? There is a technology called VRF. VRF means that this blue client, you make one VRF, and that VRF divides these routers into two logical routers. It means you can repeat the network now. So you can assign the same network to client number 1, because half of the router belongs to red color, half belongs to the blue color. So it means you can use the same network again and again. You can keep on assigning to the clients, means overlapping routing space. This is the biggest advantage of MPLS as well. Same like VLAN. So this is the concept in switching. We divide a physical switch into multiple logical switches. All our previous students who have studied with us in our VLAN, you guys might have remembered. We studied that we divide a switch into multiple virtual switches, and each switch behaves like a separate network, separate layer 2 network. Similarly, in routers, we divide one physical router into multiple logical routers, and each of them is called as one VRF, virtual routing and forwarding instance, due to which we can repeat as well. Similarly, in VLANs, you can also repeat. Now, the second advantage of MPLS is performance. This is more efficient and faster due to label switching. I explained already. You don't have to look in detail into the IP, packet and header. So you just have to look for the label. Then it gives us lower cost. Why? Because we can use the same resources, we can share the same router, we can assign to multiple clients. If you remember our example of VLAN, where engineer one, he kept on buying the switches, and he did not go for VLAN solution, while engineer two, he went for the VLAN solution, only one switch was enough. So that cost was saving. Similarly with MPLS, we can save a lot of cost. It gives us many techniques for quality of service as well. So we can apply, we can differentiate the traffic, we can apply quality of service based on labels, which makes it very easy because IPs keep on changing, so it becomes difficult with IPs. MPLS has lower downtime. It meets the criteria of 50 millisecond, which is for telecommunication network. That's why MPLS was best for telecommunication network as well, because there were many techniques like fast reroute, something FIRR. There are many other techniques as well through which we can switch the links. If one link fails, we can switch to the other one without interruption to the end user, to the client. Then it gives us improved traffic engineering and bandwidth utilization. So it can combine multiple types of traffic within one link, within one port, within one network more efficiently. And this is called as Resource Reservation Protocol, RSVP TE, traffic engineering. Means we can do traffic easily based on our resources, that which links are congested, which are free, we can modify. Then there are multiple versions and choices available as well within MPLS. So we can use layer 2 VPN, we can use layer 3 VPN. We can also use GMPLS, we can also use MPLS transport profile, different versions, different flavors of the same protocol, which is designed, which is used, which is implemented based on the customer requirement. We will see what is the difference between L2 VPN and L3 VPN. So these are some of the advantages of MPLS, that why it became so famous, so popular so suddenly, and why is it still so famous, although SD-WAN is picking up now and replacing MPLS in some parts, but MPLS is still the best and it will stay for many years further. These are some of the advantages. Now, this is the most important thing. We need to understand MPLS technically. The architecture of MPLS. So let's say this is a network of client of a service provider, let's say, and these are the clients. So this is, let's say, Vodafone. So this blue part, this central part, let's say it belongs to the ISP, the service provider, which might be Vodafone, MTN, BT, AT&T, or any of them, right? And then these are customer routers. So this place, these two routers, they are based in Dubai. And then these two routers, they are based in, let's say, in Sydney. So customer comes to us. He says, I have a router in Dubai, which I want to connect to a router in Sydney. If I establish this whole infrastructure myself throughout the world, through many countries, through many cities, then it will be very expensive for me. But you already have a network. So can you please extend your network and give me MPLS access, layer 3 VPN access, in simple words? So we said, yes, we can give you. So what happens? There are many different routers. So this is the structure of MPLS. First, we need to know the names of the routers, right? Any router which is within the service provider network is called as P. P stands for provider router, means it stands inside the network. You can see all the interfaces are within the service provider network. Not a single interface is outside. If a router is connected, which is on the edge, which is connected to the inside and also connecting to the outside, then that one is called as provider edge router, PE, which is provider edge. We have to remember these names. These are important for interviews as well. Then the third type of router, this is also PE. The third type of router which belongs to client or which is facing to client is called as CE, customer edge router. So customer gives us their CE. This one belongs to client, does not belong to us, and all these belong to us as a service provider. We have to take care of them. Okay, then when we come to the same routers, when we come into MPLS terms, their names are a little bit different as well. So those names were from the perspective of the customer, from the service provider perspective. These names are from the MPLS perspective. So when we talk in the terms of MPLS, we will call the provider edge router sometime as LSR as well. Label switch router means when the label comes, so when the packet comes, then this first router provider edge router will assign a label to it. So that label will be added. That's why it is called as label edge router, means which is on the edge of the network. It assigns the label, and now onwards, wherever the packet keeps on going, then it is just swapped. So for example, the label here, initially it has been assigned label number 10. When it reaches here, this router already know that whenever label number 10, whenever a packet comes with label number 10, then please swap this one with label number 11. Then when it reaches here, this one already know that when 11 comes, please swap it with 12. Then let's say we need to choose this path now, not this one. So this one knows that whenever label 12 comes, we have to forward it to path number 14. So this one knows that it has to swap with 15. So in this way, the label keeps on swapping, and the routers which swap the label are called as label switch routers. The routers which assign the labels are called as label edge router, and the path which gets established in the result of these label swaps and label assigning. For example, if this is the path which has been chosen based on our set rules, then this red path is called as LSP, label switched path. So these are some terms which you have to remember. Let me repeat again. A router which stays inside the provider network, inside the ISP, is called as provider router, or in terms of ISP, in terms of MPLS, it is called as LSR, label switch router. A router which is on the edge and assigns the labels is called as provider edge router, and in terms of MPLS, it is called as label edge router. Right? And the router which belong to customer is called as customer router. The path which is established as a result of this label swapping and label assignment is called as LSP, label switched path. Any question until here, guys? Let me see what have you guys asked so that I can answer before we move next. What is next? Yeah. Next is also simple: push, pop, and swap. Push is an operation where we assign the label. So of course, this is performed on our PE router. Thank you, Obina. Thank you. And then Mr. Heritier says, what is the difference of the OSPF and level of jump of the router? Let's discuss OSPF later. OSPF in IGP. Let's discuss MPLS first. Which one is the topic of today? Good luck, Obina says clear. TechnoSpark says, can we implement quality of service model like int service model using? Yes, TechnoSpark, we can use int services integrated. We can also use our differentiated services model. We can use best effort model as well. So any type of model, and that is best for MPLS. Thank you, Oladejo Peter and everyone. Okay, so 3 types of operations like we discussed. When the packet enters into the MPLS network, before this, there is no MPLS. This red part is only MPLS. Outside, there is normal router, normal routing, a layer 3 based routing. So as soon as it enters into this one, so PE assigns the router, assigns that packet a label, and this operation is called as push. So 3 more things now, 3 more terms. Push means we have assigned the label. Now, whenever this label keeps on moving from the routers, then this one is called as swap. Means the label keeps on changing, keeps on swapping. So it means all providers or LSRs keep on swapping the label in between. Finally, when it leaves the MPLS network, because of course it has to go to the client original where it has to reach. Otherwise, why the client will pay us if we keep the packet within us, if we keep all the traffic. So here, pop operation is performed. Pop means remove. Of course, we have to remove whatever was inside MPLS network. So whatever we do inside MPLS stays within MPLS network. When the packet leaves, it is a fresh packet just like it entered, a normal IP packet. So on customer edge router, it is a normal layer 3 IP packet. But only our core, our network is very fast because of this whole thing, right? So 3 operations. Push means add a new label. Swap means replace the label. Pop means remove the label because packet is leaving out. This is just like, when you enter to your cinema, they give you a ticket to enter, right? So it means this is a push. You get the ticket. And when you leave the cinema, the ticket is no more required. Sometime you return, sometime you tear off as well. That might be pop operation. Swap, you are not swapping your ticket. So this one is not in cinema. Push and pop examples are there. Okay. Now there are some label distribution protocols. How does that label get assigned? There are different types of protocol. The most important is called as LDP, Label Distribution Protocol. And this is open source. It means even you have routers from Huawei, routers from Juniper, from Nokia, from anywhere, you can use LDP. In our lab today, we will also use LDP once we implement our lab of MPLS. So we can also use existing IP protocols. For example, we can use MPI-BGP, an extension of normal BGP to assign the labels to the routers. We can also use TDP, which is a Cisco protocol, tag distribution protocol. MPI-BGP is multi-protocol in interior BGP. RSVP, resource reservation protocol, we can also use this one along with traffic engineering. It can also distribute labels for us. We can also use DLDB, but mainly it is used for layer 2 and VPLS. We can use CRLDP, TLDP, but we don't use them much. So mainly what we use is LDP, Label Distribution Protocol. These are just few names which we use, and today we will see how we use LDP to assign labels. It is automatic. Next thing is VRF. Any question until here, guys? Any relevant question, please ask about the architecture especially. The lab is also same, which we are going to do today. So this is the lab I have designed in GNS3. So here, this will be your core, all these routers until here. So this will be your provider edge router. This is your provider router, provider edge, and these are your customer routers. So these are 2 customers which have come to you and they are asking that they want you to assign. So we will see how to do that one. So with the help of lab, we will see it more. And also we will see an important aspect that how can we repeat these ones. You can see that they are overlapping 10.0.0.0 and then 10.0.0.0/24. They are from same subnet. So in normal operation, if you try to assign these IP addresses 10.0.0.5 and 10.0.0.55, this router will reject. But as soon as we enable MPLS and we assign, then it will be very easy. So router will accept it as well. Hartier say, Omar says it really clear. Thank you. Daniel says all good. LDP. Abgavo says yes. We will go to LDP, label distribution. We'll discuss label in detail. Hartier says you are a bit fast and Imam try English. You are so I think you are non-English speaker, brother. Okay, no problem. Also, this lecture is being recorded, guys, so you can also watch the recording as well after this one. Because this is new thing, I do understand, which might take some time to digest. That's why we are holding these sessions. Okay. Then the next thing is VRF. VRF, after the architecture, VRF is the most important thing. And when you will be working as a core engineer, as a core network engineer, as IP engineer, planning engineer, or operations engineer, you will be facing VRF operations every day. You will have to work on VRF. So it is very important to understand. VRF is the distribution of is the division of one router into multiple virtual routers. Let's say we have a normal router, right? And then we can divide this router into 3 parts. each of this router part will behave just like this one is an independent router itself, right? So for example, if you have two clients, let's say we have client number one who has a laptop, in simple words, or who has a network on both sides. So he wants to assign the same routing space. He wants to assign this one as well, 10.0.0.0 network slash 24. He also wants to assign 10.0.0./24. And this side, this ping network, this ping client, he is also asking for the same thing. So what is the solution in this case? There are two solutions. One solution is that you go and buy a router for this separate network, give them a network, go and buy another router for them, and then connect them together. But this will be expensive because you have doubled the cost of the router. Another solution could be you buy just one router, you go to the market, you buy only one router which supports VRF, and then divide it logically. So you have divided the cost into two parts now. So which is called as VRF, virtual routing and forwarding. So what does VRF provide us? It allows us to run multiple routing tables simultaneously on one router, which is not possible without MPLS. There will be only one routing table if you use normal IP networking, if you do not use MPLS. So we have VRF routing table and we have GRT global table. So as soon as you create your VRFs, you start dividing this physical router into multiple routers. Then there will be two tables which you can see. We will also see in our lab, there will be two labels. There will be routing tables. One general routing table is called as GRT global routing table. The other one will be called as VRF routing table. So for each VRF, there will be one routing table, but this thing will be more clear when we go to our lab. Then there are two things within the routing table, within the VRF, which are called as RD and RT, route distinguisher and route target. Route distinguisher is used to identify a VPN route in the network, while route target is an attribute which controls which route to import and which one not to import. For example, we go to our this network. So in here, if there are multiple, let's say we also have provider edge router, we also have PE routers here as well, which are connected to our clients, which are connected in here. So here you can control that if you put route target 1 in simple words, and here when you say route target 1 export, it means whatever routes you are getting from client side or whatever routes you have in that VRF, those will be exported to everyone. They are free for everyone to accept. Then you can come to this PE, this provider edge, you can say route target 1 import, which means that the route target will be exported from here and imported to here. If another routes also say RT route target number 2 export route target to import as well. So it means it will also send those route to everyone. It is open and it will also accept the route from the other side as well if this is the PE. So this is called as RT. While RD is same, whenever you assign the VRF, the RD is just to distinguish that route in the whole topology. So these two things, RD and RT, they are also very important. Okay, then we have different bases. Israel says RD is like 802.1q. No, it is not like trunk. I know you are mixing with trunk protocol, but it is not like that. It's a little bit different. It distinguishes, it is, you can say, just like VLAN ID. It tells you that this route belongs to which network, which VRF, which customer. Okay, then we have few things which are theoretical, which are called as RIB, FIB, LIB, and LFIB. RIB means routing information base. So routing information base means that on your router, you have all the routes to all the destinations, right? Once you do show IP route, then it gives you the best routes only, which is called as fib. Again, rib is all routes to all destinations. Fib is only the final version, only the final routes to the final destinations, right? So means these are pure routes. Let's say we have a network in here. Give me a second. Okay, let's say we have this route, these two routers. Let's say we have another router. So this one might be receiving routes from the two sides. This one might be receiving the route from here and also receiving the route from here, because it wants to reach a destination network which is in here from this destination network. Network number 1 wants to reach network number 2. So it has two paths to reach. Either it can reach from here or either it can reach directly from here as well. So it will receive, but based on the routing protocol which we have configured based on the metric, it will choose the best route. So once you go to your routing information base, your control plane, you will see two routes, route number 1, route number 2. But if you run the command for fib, then you will see that there are only one route. There is only one route, which is the best route, which routing protocol has chosen for it, right? Similarly, it happens in the MPLS as well. So in MPLS, we use label information base and label forwarding information base. While in normal routing, we use EIGRP, OSPF or any protocol, they use RIB. They calculate all the routes to all destinations and then they choose best routes. So this one is best routes to all the destinations. This one is called as fib. Forwarding means it's ready. Whenever we forward the route, we will use this route, not RIB. While RIB contains everything. Similarly, label information base, because now the routes are based on the label, and LDP is the protocol which we are using to calculate our destinations, right? So LIB will contain label information base, will contain all routes or all label paths, while LFIB, label forwarding information base, will only contain the best label paths as well. So this is how it works. Oshurenda says, can we send from customer provider to the MPLS? Can we send, Oshurenda, what? You mean packet? You mean what or which type of traffic? Please explain the question. Okay, MPLS service types. Now we have different types of MPLS services, means what are the uses of MPLS? Where do we use? So we use MPLS in multiple networks and in multiple applications as well. So the major use of MPLS, which you guys might have heard, is in the form of VPNs, which are called as layer 3 VPN and layer 2 VPN. We could also use MPLS like MPLS transport profile. This is used in transmission network for layer 2. So if you have old transmission network, which is based on E1, E3, all of that, then we use MPLS transport profile. The guys who are working, who have more experience, might know about this one, or they might know about transmission networks as well, where we used to use SDH and PDH as well. So this one is because it's more compatible with that one. Yes, Essence, yes, welcome. And then GMPLS is generalized MPLS. So it means we can also use this version of MPLS in SDH, DWDM or our OTN networks as well, because in normal condition, SDH and DWDM, OTN, they do not support GMPLS. So in this way, we can use MPLS TP. I have also used with OSN 1500. There was a hybrid product from Huawei, which I implemented in Dubai last time. So we use this one as well. And then GMPLS is for DWDM and OTN for optical based networks as well, which are not electrical. But majority of use is this MPLS L3 VPN. Aubrey says, I have seen on Huawei. Welcome, Aubrey. Yeah. So in OSN 1500, OSN 3500, that comes with hybrid plane, or OSN 7500. Then under layer 3 VPN, we don't have anything. Then under layer 2 VPN, we have many types, which is called as VPLS, so VPLS means point to multi-point. It means it just extends our LAN network. VPLS is virtual private LAN service, means it extends our network, all our locations of clients. They think that, they feel that they are connected directly, just like on a local LAN. Then we have Atom as well. Then we have Martini, which are further types, Compelas. And then we also use PW or VLL. You might have seen PWE3, the guys who have worked. So this is also pseudo wire emulation on MPLS network. We also have virtual private wired services, which is the same name for PWE3. So these are all the uses of MPLS. Means MPLS is not only about VPN, but it can be used on other places as well, in other networks as well. So then we have layer 2 VPN and layer 3 VPN. What is the difference between them? Because these are two major applications. This is the question you guys have asked as well to me. So I thought, let me make a slide. Also, there is a part 2 I think I am planning to make. So whatever questions you guys will raise, maybe I can plan another session based on that one as well after we finish today's session and lab. So even you can watch the recording, you can raise if you want any other topic which I might have, because I tried to make it as concise as possible so that we finish it within 1.5 hours, including lab, according to your requirement. So MPLS layer 2 VPN, in this one, the routing is the responsibility of customer. It is no more the responsibility on our side. While in MPLS layer 3 VPN, we have to take part in the routing, but management and routing belongs to our side. So let me give you an example from our normal network. In this one, when we are using layer 3 VPN, so if let's say we have layer 3 VPN, in that case, what would happen that we also have to take part, because this router is service provider's responsibility, means this is the responsibility of Vodafone, while this is client like you and me. So we come to them that we need a VPN from location A to location B. So we have to discuss with them that which routing are you using. Let's say they are using on their side OSPF routing protocol. So we also have to configure OSPF routing protocol. It means service provider has to also configure and client also has to configure. Similarly, on the other side, if client is using BGP protocol, he says on the other side, I want BGP peering, then we also have to configure BGP peering on that network. Let's say they want to configure on 199.9.9.9/24. So we also have to go with that 1.0. While if this is layer 2 network, in that one, the client will feel that this is like a layer 2 switch. The client does not have to peer with us. The client will peer, let's say they are using the same OSPF protocol. They are using, let's say 199.99.1/24. The other side, they will be configuring like this is one link to them, 99.99.2/24. It means they don't care about our network. For them, this is a direct connection between the two, like a local LAN connection. So this is called as layer 2 VPN. This is the difference. It means the routing belongs to them. They have to decide which prefix, which routing, or which IP addresses they want to use. We don't have to configure anything on this side. We just give them a switch in here. They plug into the switch. On the other side, they also plug into the switch. They will feel like everything is transparent for them. This is called as layer 2 VPN. Chugmika says, can both understand themselves? OSPF understand. Chugmika, can you write it again in clear? I think this is some spelling error, or maybe you are using on mobile. Please write it again, your question. So routing is the responsibility of the customer in a layer 2 VPN. In layer 3 VPN, it is the service provider's responsibility. Then in layer 2 VPN, service provider does not need to know customer's routing like I explained to you. But in layer 3 VPN, both are obliged, both have to know about each other's network, especially on the edge side. And they can carry some traffic which is not supported by layer 3 VPN. So L2 VPN supports some extra types of traffic for which the encapsulation into layer 3 VPN will be difficult. For example, IPX, SNA, NetBIOS, all of that. But in majority of application, layer 3 VPN is the major usage of MPLS. Then we have labels as well. So this is the format of the label. We have 4 parts, and where does the label stand? So it stands between the layer 2 header and layer 3 IP packet as well. So this is the 32-bit value which stands between these two. So 20 bits, 3 bits, 1 bit, and 8 bit. 20 bits are the value of the label. 3 bits are for experimental purposes, and S is the stack of the label. So it means that when this one is reached, this is the last label and it has to be removed. And TTL is time to live, just like IP packet. MPLS does not depend on IP TTL within MPLS network, because this one will not be seen. We just discussed that we don't see into IP packet what is happening. So it means we cannot rely on IP. We need to have our own time to live value, which is again 8 bits. So this is how 23, 1, and 8 is 32-bit header. In normal condition, how does it happen? In normal conditions, so let's say you have something, any application, you have an email message, you have a WhatsApp message. Let's say you have a WhatsApp message which says, hi. So now this is your application layer data, which is your layer 7 data. That layer 7 data gets converted, or your application data gets converted into layer 6, layer 4, layer 5, and then transport. So in transport, we pack this data into either TCP or either into UDP packet. So that TCP or there is also a very detailed video that how does this whole encapsulation happen in our IP and LAN switching as well, which is very important for your basics. Many people, when they go for interview, then they are lacking these basics as well. And I have seen many questions, because usually I'm much interested what they got in interview. So one of my friend, he went into the interview and in the Amazon, and then the lady, she asked him actually that, okay, we have this computer and we have also this computer, I want to connect them together. So what is needed? He said, I need only IP address and subnet mask, which was wrong. So because they were on different, they needed gateway as well. So sometime these basic questions, because once you go to, if you go to your company interview, you have forwarded your CV through your friend to his manager, and his manager calls you, he asks you general question, he hires you, and then that happens in our normal day-to-day routine. But when you go for a proper interview, when you go for Google, Facebook, Amazon these days, they are having proper 6 to 7 interview rounds in which they don't depend on the reference much. Your friend can only forward your CV and he can put into the database, but interview will still be proper. No one can bypass HR, no one can. So in that one, they are asking you theoretical and basic questions, and most of our people who are even senior engineers, who are even technical managers, they are failing. Why? Because their basics are not so strong. So basics need to be strong. The point which I want to establish. So there is a detailed video on that one, that how does this happen. So that TCP, that application layer data gets into layer 4 TCP or UDP packet. That TCP or UDP packet, it gets into this is, let's say, your layer 3 IP header. And then this TCP or UDP data will stand here. So you can say this is your TCP or UDP packet, but this one will be data for IP layer. Then this whole thing gets into the layer 2 frame as well. So we have header, which is layer 2 header, and then this data as well. But this data actually contains IP packet inside all the detail. And then this one gets converted into 010101, and it gets transported to the other side. So does anyone know IP packet is bigger or layer 2 frame is bigger? So is layer 3 IP packet bigger or layer 2 in size, or layer 2 frame, that one is bigger? Can anyone answer, guys? Redden says layer 2. Anyone else? Israel says layer 2, Shirendo says layer 3. Any logic as well? Umar says layer 2, Abu Bakr Yusuf, layer 2, Ibenzer, layer 2, Oladejo, layer 3. Chukmeka says, good luck, Obina. Any reason, guys? Not only guess. Kopano says layer 2. I think somebody is writing. Okay. Essen says, as it comes down after layer 3. Yes, you are right. So Essen, your guess is that layer 2 is bigger, right? Layer 3 and Gobi says yes. The logic is if you have a truck, right? If you have a truck, the logic of Essen and Ngobi is that if you have a big bus or you have a truck, can you put that truck into a small car? Can you transport that truck into the small car? No. So this is the logic, right? But this logic is wrong. This does not apply here. The layer 2 frames are smaller. Remember last time we discussed that they are maximum up to 1518 bytes only. While the layer 3 IP packet, you can see the size. That one was starting from somewhere very bigger. I remember that was going around 65,000 something. I have a detailed diagram on that one as well. But so then how come this truck goes into this car? What we can do is we can divide this truck. We can just break into part number 1, part number 2, part number 3, part number 4, part number 5, 6, and then 7. And then we can transport one by one. So first we will send only part number 1 into this car. It can fit, of course, because it's smaller than the car. Then car will come back, or the new car will come. We will put the next part, the third part, the fourth, one by one. So this is called as, does anyone know what is this called? This one is called as IP fragmentation. Means we fragment our IP packet and put into smaller packet, smaller frames. We pack this big information, we divide it into parts, and then we put it into our data. So similarly, here we also have this MPLS header between layer 2 header and layer 3 IP packet. Maybe we can have, yes, this is called sequencing. So this was about label packets. So now your home assignment is you have to complete the lab, which we are going to do now. So let's do that lab so that you guys can do it from your home as well. But before that, let me just repeat and let me summarize as well. So what is MPLS? MPLS is multi-protocol label switching. Please also write your questions if you have any. So after summary and before lab, let me explain, let me answer those. But please keep it relevant here as well, whatever we have studied now. So MPLS is multi-protocol, means it can encapsulate many different protocols very easy into one format, and the switching and the routing is based on label switching instead of complex IP lookups as well. So this does not go into the IP packet, which makes it faster and more efficient. It can encapsulate packets of various protocols. That's why it is called as multi-protocol. It came by IETF in 1997, and then it belongs to layer 2.5. Sometime we say. Some of the literature, they say it belongs to layer 2, some says layer 3, but mostly we will see it belongs to layer 2.5. Why should we use MPLS? What are the advantages? It is scalable. We can use the provider edge and route reflector models as well. I'll explain route reflector during the lab, please remind me. And then it is more efficient because it is fast. And why? Because it is based on labels. It gives us lower cost because we can have shared resources, while the experience of the client will still be like a VPN, like a private network. So it gives us better quality of service, lower downtime, less than 50 millisecond. It gives us improved traffic engineering and bandwidth utilization. It comes in multiple versions and choices as well, layer 2 VPN, layer 3 VPN, and in different uses as well. So this is the network. In this network, we have different terms. The router, which belongs to customer, is called as customer edge router, CE. The router which is on the edge of the ISP network, our core network, is called as label edge router, or it is called as provider edge router. All other routers which are in the middle are called as provider or label switch router because they are switching the label, they are swapping the label. Similarly, we have three operations: push, pop, and swap. Push means when the packet enters into our packet, the label is pushed, the label is added. Then on each station, each router, the label keeps on getting swapped. And finally, the label is removed, which is called as pop operation. So 3 operations: push, adding the label; swap, replacing the label; and pop, removing the label finally, because the packet is leaving out now. Different label distribution protocols are available, and we have to choose which one is suitable for us. The majority of cases go with label distribution protocols because it is open source and it is one of the most old ones. Then we have other label distribution protocols as well. What is VRF? VRF is dividing a physical router into multiple logical routers. And as soon as we divide the router, we will have a general routing table, and then one routing table for each of the clients. We will see in the lab, there will be GRT, and then there will be 2 VRF based routing tables as well. Then we have RD and RT. RD is used to identify a VPN route to make it unique in the whole network, while RT makes sure that which routes will be imported and exported on that provider edge router. Different terms for MPLS based networks and for normal IPv4 routing as well. So here we have control plane in normal IPv4 routing, which is based on RIB and FIB. RIB means routing information base, means all routes to all destination, whether they are good or bad. FIB means final forwarding routers, final forwarding routes, sorry, not routers, which based on what the routing will be taken place. LIB, labor information base, means again, this is MPLS. So in MPLS, we talk about label. So the distribution protocol is LDP on control plane. And then on the forwarding plane, we use label information base. And sorry, on forwarding plane, we use label forwarding information base, similar to FIB in the normal IP routing. Then many uses of MPLS and many versions as well. The main use of MPLS is with VPN and especially layer 3 VPN. We also have layer 2 VPN, which has all these different types. Then there are variations of MPLS. We can use MPLS in our transmission networks. We can also use MPLS in our DWDM and OTN networks as well. Difference between layer 2 and layer 3 VPN. In layer 2 VPN, the routing is the responsibility of customer. As a service provider, we don't care about it. While in L3 VPN, the routing and the management is the responsibility of service provider like us. We have to share with them our internal information, but only on the edge side, external side of edge router. And service provider does not need to know, but here the service provider needs to know each detail of the client as well. And layer 2 VPN also gives us some extra traffic types, which are not possible with layer 3. The format of the label is 32-bit, which sits in between layer 2 header and the layer 3 IP packet. That's why it is sometimes called as layer 2.5, because it is in the middle of the layer 2 and layer 3. Then your home assignment is you have to complete the lab, which we are going through now. And if you have any questions, you can talk to me. You can send your completed lab to admin1 and networkbox. Once we collect all the labs, I will check. So let's move to the lab. Let me first see the question if you guys have written anything. Okay. Umar says waiting for the lab. Okay, Umar, we are going there. Hassan says, so it's having more information. Yes, Hassan, it is having more information, but in parts by parts. I think you are talking about the layer 3 and layer 2 when we were discussing. Okay, Umar says waiting for the lab. Veena says go to lab. Okay, so no more question, it means. Let's go there. Let me connect to the server. So the lab goes like that, guys. Let me first show you the lab manual. So with all our labs, they go like this. We have a lab manual and then we have a lab topology as well. So you can use this one to simulate it yourself as well. So this one is lab number 1. Lab number 1 with VRF, because you can also have service provider network without VRF as well. There is another lab for that. If you need, you can also talk to admin. She will share with you as well. So in this lab, what we need to do, in this lab, we have 2 clients. This blue client, which we call as customer A. This one has a router CE1, means customer edge router, like we discussed. And it also has CE2, means blue customer, customer A. He comes to us, he says that I want to peer with you and I want you to give me connectivity through your network. So this yellow network belongs to us and we are, let's say we are Vodafone or we are MTN, we are the service provider. So we have to make sure. Then after some time, another client comes, he says the same thing. He says, guys, I also want to have this route on this one. So luckily we have MPLS network and we are able to provide them the same route again. Why? Because we have VRFs here. So on this PE1, we will configure VRF blue. We will configure the name of the VRF as customer B, cust B. And then we will also have a VRF, which will be blue VRF in here. So we will configure as customer A. So VRF number 1. Similarly, we will configure 2 VRFs on the other side as well so that they can share the route. And then you will be able to see that this network, all these routes will be private to each of them and blue will be blue. Also, another important point which I missed from the lecture is that there is one more advantage of MPLS, which is BGP free core, because this is also one of important interview questions. So this one, MPLS gives us BGP free core because BGP is heavy protocol, and then running BGP means you also have to see all the external routes. So here in this lab, I will show you as well, and you can experiment yourself, that these provider routers, they will not have the visibility of outside routes. Means once you go to your provider 1, you can run the command show IP route. You will not see 3 routes or you will not see this 10 route. They will always stay outside. So here we will run OSPF as IGP. So when we are implementing the lab, what we have to do, we need 3 protocols, right? This is very important, guys. Essen says IP is same for both customers. Yes, it is same because they want to peer 10.0.0.5. Blue one wants to use, and then green wants to use 10.0.0.55 on left side, and then on right side, both wants to use .6. Means this customer also wants to have an IP address 10.0.0.6 on this port, and also 10.0.0.6 on this port. Okay, so let's move on. So we have to configure protocols here. The first protocol, once we establish our core, is called as IGP, Interior Gateway Protocol. So we have to choose at least one IGP and where this IGP will be running. So let me make it a different color. So this IGP will be running on this port, this one, means on all the internal sites. And those routes will not go outside and outside routes will not come, right? So they will only be on provider edge router. So we will also have a second peering between these provider edge router, this PE1, we only have 2 provider edge router. So we will have a peering between them based on an extension of BGP, which is called as multi-protocol IBGP. So whenever you guys are running, so you have to choose one IGP first. So which IGPs do we have, guys? Does anyone know how many choices in IGP do we have? We just studied, the people who belong to batch 24, we just studied last weekend types of IGP protocols. Does anyone know any type of IGP? RIP Israel, and Yadimola says RIP. Very good. Ibenzer says OSPF TechnoSpark. I don't know your name. OSPF. Happy Chucha says OSPF. Good luck, Obina. IS. Okay, very good. Already Jupiter Technica. TechnoSpark, Red and John, SN OSPF. Yes, very good. So we have all these protocols. So you can choose based on your requirement. You can either use OSPF protocol. You can either use RIP protocol, but problem with RIP, it's classful, so don't use it. So you can use OSPF, you can also choose EIGRP, you can also choose IS to IS protocol, right? So what I want you guys to do after this lab, I have chosen today OSPF protocol. You can see here, my lab is based on OSPF and this is area 0. So, but what after you finish this lab, once you are expert with this MPLS lab, I want you guys to re-perform this lab using EIGRP or using RIP protocol. Better you use EIGRP, it will be almost similar to OSPF. So this is also one of your homework and your further practice, right? Then PE to PE, this one we have only one choice, which is MPI BGP. It means all these customer routes, they will come to PE, the provider edge router, and then they will jump, they will skip all of them, and then they will go to the other PE side. The connectivity of customer would be like this, right? If we have the same site of the customer, let's say customer says that I also have a site, this blue one, then they will also jump like that from here to here. They will have peering between them. So this is the second thing. The third type of routing which we need to have is between CE and PE. Let me remove everything to make it simple. So let's say this is blue customer. So we also need to have a routing like we discussed, and we need to share between them. So here and here we need to have a routing protocol. So I have used BGP in here, which is normal eBGP, but you can also use static routing as well. You can also use OSPF. So you can use anything in here. So I also want you to swap that one and then see how it affects the whole topology and whole working. So three types of routing protocol which we have to decide, right? The first type is IGP. The second one is PE to PE, this mapping, and the third one is CE to PE routing. So 1, 2, and then 3. Clear on this one, guys? This is how we establish our MPLS network, and that's why it is a little bit complex initially, but once you go into it, it is very interesting once you are hands-on with it. So in this lab, let's go on. And also the BGP, what I have chosen with, because we have to configure, like I said, between these two, we have to configure BGP. So the BGP autonomous systems are written here. BGP AS number 200, BGP AS number 100. This one, of course, has to be 200. This one is 300, and this one is also 300. So 300 to 100, there will be one pairing, and then 300 to 100, another pairing. 200 to 100, one pairing. 200 to 100, one pairing. And then 100 to 100 pairing using the MPI BGP. That's why it is called as BGP free core. You can see there is no BGP protocol in here. There is no BGP. So, and this is the general network of all of your companies, all of your ISPs, wherever you are working or you will be working. Okay. Now the task, don't get scared with the task, because I have written this task in detail so that you understand the topology, and then you can perform. You can also modify the task as well. So I have tried to include all type of questions which you might face during interviews and during your discussions as well. So here the task says Network Walks is an MPLS provider company. So this is our Network Walks network. So today we established there is nothing like that. There are no clients as of today, right? So we just established, we said, okay guys, we have just started a new ISP company and we are selling MPLS VPN. So anybody who is interested, please keep on coming to us. So we only have this yellow network in which we have 2 provider edge routers, and we also have 2 provider networks, 2 LSRs and 2 LERs, right? So then the same day, the first customer comes, customer number A, which is blue color. You can say blue customer, he comes to us and he says that I want connectivity from this one to the other side. Same time customer B also comes, he says, no, I also want that network. So please don't give him, give to me. Then we are saying, luckily we have MPLS network. We can give the same network to both of you, which was not possible before that. So we need, what we need to do, we need to configure the service provider core and customer edge routers according to the above topology. All IP addresses, everything is mentioned in here, so that they can be served with overlapping routes, which is not possible without MPLS. Provider edge 1 and provider edge 2 are provider routers and they are running MPLS. The PEP should be using MPI BGP, which is always, so this is our PE router, this is our PE. P1 and P2 are our provider routers and must run MPLS. They are running OSPF as IGP. So this is also written, it is mentioned. So whenever we have lab, it will be mentioned. So finally, what we need to make sure that customer A, CE1 and CE2 should be able to ping to each other. So this one should be able to ping using this blue one. This should be able to ping to this one. And then there should be connectivity between these two greens as well. And they should not overlap, which means that from the green router, we should not be able to ping this 7. Why? Because it is another customer. If they share with each other, what is the privacy then? What is the use of MPLS? So this is our requirement. Similarly, for customer B, CE1, sorry, this is typing mistake. So customer B, CE1 and customer B, CE2 are customer B routers. They should also be having BGP peering with the PEs and they must be able to ping each other. So clear on the requirement, guys? Any questions until here before we implement? Because implementation is easy. All the commands are here, just copy and paste, it will work. The problem is to understand the requirement from clients and then establish your network, establish your communication. Okay, Obina says clear. Anyone else? Any questions until here? Why we are doing this? Why we are doing that? You can ask, feel free to ask any question. If you ask relevant question, you are more than 100% welcome. This is how we learn as well. Joseph says it is clear. Paula De Jupiter says clear. Can we move, guys? Is it clear, the requirements? Hassan says it's clear. Okay. Only Kolibe says, I think he joined a bit late. Okay. And then Oshirindo says, move on, all clear. It's compulsory to use. Obina says, is it compulsory to use GNS3 online? No, you can use offline as well. It's not a problem. Okay, so let's move on. Everybody says we are clear. The requirement is very simple. The requirement is that this should become one network. They should be able to have access to each other. And then this should also become a network. They should have access. No one else should have access to anyone. This is the requirement from two customers. And how we established the network, I already explained. We have established 3 types of routing: IGP, we have established MPI-BGP, and we have established CE to PE, which is required always whenever you implement MPLS L3 VPN or MPLS networks as well. And Heritier says, is it possible to use packet tracer as well with this lab? You can try if that supports, but I don't think it will support all the commands. Ahmed says, must there be a physical connection between CE and PE? Yes, of course. Otherwise, Ahmed Ajijola, it is not possible because, otherwise you want to use wirelessly, do you mean? Of course, there need to be a connection between the two so that they can send the routes. Israel says, let's say that customer 1 has network in Lagos and London. Where would the ISP be? ISP will be in both countries. ISP needs to be in Nigeria. ISP needs to be in Israel. ISP also needs to be in London as well. So this side will belong to, they will say, yes, we are based on Lagos and we also have a site in London as well. So they will connect, and then they can have, this is why we are providing. If they are on the same location, why customer needs us? If they are within the same city, they can also lay their fiber cable. They can have their own connection. Why they depend on us? They depend on us because we have connectivity in multiple cities. And in some time, we are also having, when I was working in Vodafone, then we were also establishing in the Africa continent. So for example, Namibia to Zambia, Zambia to South Africa, to Egypt. So we were establishing that kind of connectivity using MPLS. So that is the use. But usually one ISP is within one country, and then there is another thing which comes, which is called as inter-AS routing. Means if you are, there are 3 options, option A, option B, option C. This is very complex thing as well, but it is also very useful. It is CCIE level topic, that when you have one ISP in one country and you have the other ISP in another country, so how the ISPs will talk to each other. That is called inter-AS options. You can search in Google. Maybe we can have an extra session on that one as well. once you are good on basic MPLS. This one 8200 says, please, what setup are we using for the lab? GNS3. Israel says the same ISP or different ISPs. Same ISP. If different, then we need to have inter-AS options. Kennedy says, what if they are from two ISPs? Then Kennedy, we need to use inter-AS option. ISPs need to use actually. Usually they have already because they know the client will be in multiple countries. Umar says, I think there is no possibility to configure IBGP on packet tracer. Yes, Umar, the old one was not supporting, but new one you can try. Obina says, the PE connects the customers to the ISP. Yes, PE connects the customers to the ISP. PE is the ISP actually. This PE is the part of ISP. This is whole ISP actually. So they are the part, but yes, they are on the edge of the ISP. They are the interface, just like ASBR in OSPF. They are on the edge of the network. They help to connect them to outside with CEs. Jamil says, can we just place them on different VLANs? Jamil says, yes, that can we establish the same thing? Jamil, then you need to have all these switching networks, and then if you place them, then there would be problem because switching will not be able to provide the advantages which layer 3 VPN is providing. So that is far more complex than normal VLANs. But your question is valid. Already just says, let's go with the lab and we attend all questions after. Victor says, how many VRF can be created? I will show you, Victor. I think you asked this question also. I want to show you that how you can check yourself as well. It depends on different routers actually. So the router model, that how many VRF. Okay, so let's move on. This is the relevant information. IGP protocol used in core is OSPF version 2. The core what we are using is OSPF, normal OSPF. V2, V3 is for IPv6. We don't use that. The OSPF core is 0 area, and then process ID is 1. PE to CE routing type is eBGP. All loopback IP addresses and everything is mentioned in here. So when we say 1.1.1, this is the loopback, and then this one in the middle, 15.15.15.0, for example, this is the network between the two routers. So it means, let me explain, maybe some guys will have confusions on this one. This is how I always design my labs. So let's say we have a network between router number 1 and router number 2, right? So I always give this network name 12.12. Means 1 to 2, 1 to 2.0/24. This is the network, and this side IP address will be 12.12.12.1/24. This side IP address will be 12.12.12.2/24. Then we have a connectivity between router number 2 and router number 6. So the network is 2626.26. This side will be 2626.2. This side will be 2626.6. You can follow the remaining as well. So this is the convention I always follow in my labs. Okay. So let's go to the solution now, step by step. Guys, you need to pay attention on this part now, because this is the most important part. I will just show you this one. I'll explain to you, and then I'll copy and paste into my GNS3, and you will see how it is happening, right? Kingsley says, can it work on same version of GNS3 that we, yes, Kingsley, it's the same version which you got in training with us of CCNA. It is version 225. Same version, I kept it so that our existing student don't face any problems. Okay, so first we start with our provider routers because those are the easiest one. So what do we do in our, let me open the lab on one side, I think, and let me open the picture on the other side, because without picture it will be difficult for you to understand that, but it might be a little bit small this time. Let's open the explanation on the other side. Is it visible to you guys now, the text? I'll also unmute you one by one in the end to take all your questions. And then this is our topology and the requirement also, so that you can see. Okay, so let's move on. Now, the first thing what we need to do is our provider routers, because these are very simple router. What we need to do here, we just need to run OSPF. That's all. So we will be enabling OSPF on these interfaces which are facing towards provider edge routers. So first we need to say IPsef. This command is for enabling CEF, which is Cisco Express Forwarding. This is a technology which helps Cisco routers to establish this router with this label base, and which helps to run MPLS on the router. So this is a general thing which we need to run on our PEs and P1 and providers as well, right? And then MPLS IP, this command, it enables MPLS on the router. So I'm working on these two router, guys. Let me clarify where I'm working. So I'm working on provider 1 and provider 2 as well. You can see here provider 1 and then provider 2. So after that, the next command is MPLS LDP. Label protocol is label distribution protocol, LDP. You can put a question mark. You can see which ones are available. Then MPLS LDP router ID loopback 0. So it means what should be the LDP router ID? It should use the local loopback address so that it can forward based on that. Then simply we need to assign IP address. Whatever is shown here, it is 1.1.1. We assign to loopback, we assign to interface, we say no shutdown, and then on interface level, again, we need to say MPLS IP. Here, and one point is very important, we need to run this command of MPLS IP only on those interfaces which are facing the core. Means here on PE, which means here on PE, we need to run MPLS IP because they are the part of MPLS and they are running MPLS protocol. So only these 6 interfaces, right? So one time MPLS IP on the whole router and then next time, but sometime MPLS IP command is already enabled. So this is the basics. Basic means we configure the IP address and enable MPLS on the router. Then we configure OSPF on the provider routers. Router OSPF 1 MPLS LDP automatic configuration means labels should be automatically assigned. We don't want to interfere. The router ID of OSPF should be the loopback. Then network 111 network we are enabling on loopback and we are enabling left and right. It means configuration of OSPF. And Apichucha says, just imagining in our offer MPLS, one client has 6 branches. How can now where is CP1 as per your diagram? If we have 6 branches, Happy Chucha, then you can keep on extending. You need to have at least 1 PE on that place wherever you want to give services to your clients. So good question. Do you type code in Notepad before you transfer to GNS3? Yes, we can. Just a support engineer don't configure such. Okay. Okay, Apichucha, he says, I want to do some other configuration. He says visible and Joshua says fine. Okay, so this was provider part. Means on provider, we just enabled the interfaces, assigned them IP addresses, configured OSPF, that's all. Then the next part is to go to CEs. That is also simple part. In there, what we need to do, we discussed already which protocol is running between them. It is running BGP in this lab, but you can use any of that. So simply, we just assign them IP addresses, we say no shutdown, but here you can see we don't have MPLS. So it means these are just normal routers because they are outside the ISP network. So we just enabled them, no shutdown, and we run normal BGP. We say neighbor 10.0.0.5 and remote AS is 100, redistribute connected means redistribute everything into BGP, whatever is here, which means loopbacks and everything, so that they are visible on the other side. This is like normal configuration, nothing in MPLS. So we configure both customer A and customer B with the IP addresses which are mentioned green. That's why I gave them different color in the configuration so that it's visible for you guys. Okay, Hartier says, Blizzard, I need to use GNS3, so I need to link the download new update. Yes, you need to use GNS3, and then I just share the GNS3 file as well. You can go and import. 832 says, please, is MPLS in Cisco new syllabus? Do you mean in CCNA? No, it is not there. But in service provider, it's there. CCNP and core level. So, any questions until CE routing and provider routing? On providers, we just configured OSPF. OSPF we enabled, very simple. On customer edge routers, we configured BGP, and then we created BGP pairing with the provider as well. The main configuration, the main things will be on provider edge routers. So we need to see that one in detail. Okay, so this is clear. Okay, so let's move to our step number 3, which is the most important. Configure provider edge routers according to the requirements given above. So here what we need to do, we need to take care. We do not need to enable MPLS. If you enable MPLS on the outer side, then there will be a problem. So you need to enable MPLS only on the inner side, means this one. And also you need to enable OSPF as well, so that they can have peering with the provider routers. Right? So this brown part is actually our MPLS. So the same commands for the MPLS side, we say, okay, IPsec means and enable MPLS overall on the router. LDP protocol, loopback should be the router ID. Then interface loopback 0, we just give them IP address, no shutdown, and then on the inner side we say MPLS, so that they will take part in the MPLS. Now here comes the MPLS. So we need to configure VRF on the PE and assign the interfaces. This is the command to configure VRF, IP VRF customer A. RD is 200, I just named based on the AS number of the customer. Autonomous system was 200, BGP number was 200, so I said RD should be 200 is to 1. So which is, you can put any number. Then route target import, I also said 200 is the RT, which is simple. So it means all route targets will be imported and all will be exported. And then interface FA0/0 should belong to the VRF customer A. And then I have configured the IP address one more time. Why? Because as soon as we configure, as soon as we put, this is very important, as soon as we put an interface into a VRF, then the IP gets removed. We will see when we are doing the configuration, there will be an error as well. This is a mistake which people are doing, especially in CCIE lab and especially in the configuration. Then once they are done with the whole configuration, IP is gone. So after you assign an interface to a VRF, please reconfigure the IP address one more time. Same thing for customer B. Part 2 of the PE router, core routing towards providers. Of course, we have to establish core routing towards this OSPF routing. Part number 3, we have to configure BGP towards here, but we have to take care once we are configuring BGP, we have to put the BGP into VRF. So we have to say router BGP, IP address family, IPv4, and VRF should be this one now, customer A. We need to activate remote AS and AS override. Does anyone know anything about AS override? When we studied BGP, we discussed this one as well. So does anyone remember about AS override function? Why we are using it here? Shiniza says, kindly share this recording. Sure, Shiniza, it will be shared. Chigozi says it's inside the zip folder. Yes. Kevin says, where is MPLS implemented in wireless and cellular in ISP? Okay, we will discuss in the other session. So, okay, AS override is a function, guys, because in normal situation, BGP does not allow you to repeat the autonomous system number. Why? Because in normal condition, this situation might happen. So you have, let me minimize to make it simple. So in normal situation, what can happen? In normal situation, it can happen that you have a BGP network, which is AS number 100, right? Then this one gets connected to AS number another, maybe Glotel, another network. Then this one gets connected to AS number 300, right? Because you have a laptop in here, which needs to talk to somebody in the other side as well. But there could be a situation that this one is pointing back the route to AS 100. And then from here, it is going to your destination. So means this was source and this was destination, but it took a double round. So it went there and then it come back, which will create a loop. That's why whenever whenever BGP says that it has passed through AS number 100, AS number 200, AS number 300, and again AS number 100, then it will drop the route, because it will say there is a loop, because route is being repeated again. It is coming back from where it started. So to override this function, because this situation is happening here in our network, here we have AS200 on this side, again AS200 on the other side, and in the middle we have AS100. So when this one goes to AS100, again to AS200, and it reaches to a BGP router, it will drop the route, because this is the default function of BGP. It drops the route when the AS number is repeated more than one time. So also guys, if you are feeling a little bit difficult, don't worry. The guys who have not studied BGP in detail or OSPF, that's why I was saying that before MPLS, you have to go through that in detail. But don't worry, once you cover BGP and OSPF, then you can come back to this recording again, or we can have a repeat session again. So due to this one, we are using the command. As soon as we use this command AS override in the end, so that AS override will allow to repeat the route. We will see this thing when we will complete this lab now. Clear on this point? So that's why we have. So you can see a small command in BGP is so much important. And when somebody asks you in the interview, or when somebody wants to talk or you want to explain, then if you don't know the background in detail, if you have not done the practice on that in detail, you have not spent many nights, you will not understand what is AS override. So that's why BGP, OSPF, MPLS is very important. Okay, thank you. So let's move on. So this was PE to CE part, normal BGP, but based on the VRF. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, other guys. The last part is PE to PE peering based on the MPI BGP. Remember, we discussed there is a third type of peering as well between all PEs as well, all provider edge routers as well. So this is that one, router BGP, neighbor, remote AS 100, same, 100 to 100 means within same network, update source loopback, and next hop self. This is also a command. It also have a very large background, but just assume that in every iBGP, we need to use this command so that it points to the proper destination. Then we say address family IPv4 and neighbor should be activated. So we need to activate one time in IPv4 and then VPN v4. This is something which is the most important for MPLS. We need to activate it one time as well, and then it will work. So after doing that, we will see that the routes should start coming. So once we go to our CE, I think it's clear to you now. So you can see I am on CE router now. So in this CE router, when you try to ping, then you will be successful. 77 is the route to CE2 of customer number 1. But when I try to ping 4.4, it means this belongs to another customer. The ping is not going through, so the ping is dropped. So which is 100% what we want. You can verify like that. I will also verify with you now. Similarly, you can test the connectivity from all other Cs. This is also your homework. You have to take snapshots like that and send to me, the guys who want to learn in detail. And then check on all devices that which routes are accessible from where. So you have to run show IP route command from customer router, and then you will see only you can see the routes which belong to your customer, which is customer A. You will not be able to see the routes of customer B. Then you can run from customer number 2, you will see. Then you can go to customer B and you will see there is only 4 and 8 route. 4 and 8 means the route which belongs to this one 444 and then 888. Right? And then these were the routes 3 and 7. Also, you guys can see that once we go to provider router, you will see only OSPF routes. Do you see any BGP route here? No. So this makes our confirmation that provider routers do not take part in BGP, right? So this is how you verify with the configurations. And then we can go to our PE routers. So once you run, now I am on PE number 1. So if I run show IP route, you will see that internal side I only have OSPF routes, but I don't see BGP routes. Guys, does anyone know that why I am not seeing the BGP routes? That when I am running the command here, why don't I see BGP routes? Any idea? Essen says BGP free. Very good, Essen. You tried. Anyone else, guys? Good luck says, Obina says not supported at all. No, they are supported. But what happened actually? Remember we discussed that as soon as we configure MPLS, then there are two routes. There are two routing tables now, three total. So one routing table will be called as GRT, Global Routing Table. So global routing table cannot have these routes which are coming through blue VRF. It cannot have the routes which are coming through green VRF. It will only have the routes which are coming from the outside or inside, but in normal peering. But this peering was based on the blue VRF. So we need to go into that VRF. We need to say show IP route VRF blue or VRF customer A. So let's see. So we go back and there you can see show IP route. Now here you can see that we are seeing the customer A blue routes as well. So we need to say show IP route for VRF customer number A. It means this router has been divided now. So it shows blue routes only when you type this command. It shows green routes when you type customer B. So here it shows you 3 and 7 routes, means they are accessible. Means now this one is a separate router within PE1 and then this green is a separate router and those routes are not accessible from each other. Here you will see 4 and 8 routes only. So clear on these ones, that's why I took so many snapshots and I pasted here. And then you can go to show IP BGP. Here you can see which routes. And another point which I explained to you as well, that you can see here that the path, it is saying that this route has been learned from 100 and somewhere else as well. So in normal condition, this route will be rejected. But due to that command of AS-override, this route is, you can see here, this route is a normal valid route. So this star means valid and this means best. So all of these things actually we are studying in detail in CCNP. The guys from you who have done CCNP, they should understand all of that. But other people who have done just CCNA, don't worry, when we run the full course, we will study everything like that in detail. First we will study OSPF, then we will study BGP in detail, then we will study everything. Now this is also your home assignment. Can you ping from CE1 to PE1? If not, what is the reason? If yes, what is the reason? Verify with show commands which type of routes do you see. I have answered all these questions during the session. If you watch recording, you will find as well. But I want you guys to try yourself. So let's do the lab after that. Let's try configuration. Then I can unmute you one by one and you guys can ask the questions. Let me connect to the server, because if I run on this one will blow up. Okay, so here I have already run it, but I have not done any configuration. So guys, this is our lab. These are all the same routers. I have turned them on and this is the CLI to all of them. Let me make a little bit more space for my CLI. Can you guys see clearly? Like this. I think now it will be more visible to everyone. Oh. And then we can run on this CLI. Okay, can you see the text clear? Is it visible to everyone? Okay, thank you, Red and John. So now I am on router number CE1. You need to pay attention to the name. So customer A CE1, it means customer number A. Thank you, Asan. Customer A, customer edge router 1. Here you can see I am on customer A and also I have named them as well. So as soon as I move to the next one, you will see now that I am on customer A, but CE number 2. Then provider number 1. Then provider number 2. So let's see practically whatever we have discussed until now. But I will just paste the commands because if I start typing, it will take 1 hour. Thank you, Victor. Okay, so first we have not done any configuration. Let's see, can we ping from CE1 to CE2, which is our requirement, right? So our requirement is that this one should be able to ping the other side. So let's see whether it can ping. So we say ping 7, the loopback is 7.7. You can say source or just ping normally. So it says unrecognized. Why? Because there is nothing in the routing table. So show IP route. So you can see the routing table is empty because we have not done the configuration. So let me do the configuration. Let me paste the commands one by one. So we come back to our lab manual. This is how you will do the lab as well. So after doing this topology, so first we go to our provider router. We run these basic commands on both provider 1 and provider 2. So let's finish on provider number 1 first. It will do all the configuration. So we copy. Yes, you are right as well, but Red and John. But also there is nothing actually, even if you type dot, so still there is nothing. Thank you for picking up. Okay, so we copy everything from here on provider, paste on the correct router, and then we come here, just paste, sorry, without configuration. So we say configure terminal, and then we paste in here. So it will run all the commands one by one, and then everything is fine. We need to run one more time because some commands, it was waiting and then it pasted. So just run one more time. No shutdown, and then MPLS IP should be separate. Okay. So now we can see show IP interface brief. So interfaces have been configured. They are up. MPLS is there and nothing else. Let's do on CE2. Sorry. Oh. So you guys also didn't tell me that we had to do it on provider router because we started with provider, not customer. So let's do on provider first. Configure, copy again, go on the provider. So we paste it, and these two are mixing. So we need to say, and then MPLS IP. Show IP interface brief. We can see the interfaces and loopbacks have been configured already. Aubrey, this is GNS3. Okay, let's go to provider number. That one is easy. Yes, it's very easy. So then we type the remaining commands for OSPF. I copy again for provider. Let me make it small. And then we paste configure terminal. Then we go here, copy again on the provider. We just paste them. But I think last two commands are having problems. So we need to do one by one. Then we type this one as well. So guys, I'm just pasting, copying and pasting, nothing else is being done. But once we have implemented, you will see the results as well. So P1 is done. We just right click Joshua, or you can come to edit and then you can paste as well from here. So we come to provider number 2. Here nothing is up, configure terminal. I go back to my script. I copy from here everything. Copy. Then I come here. And then the same thing happened on the last. So we say MPLS IP. Done. Then we go to core routing. We copy again. Come back and we say router. And then the last command we have to do manually. Copy and then paste again. I think let me open my Word file because PDF is giving issues. Yes, you can use Notepad as well. You can use your Okay, so this one is done. Let's go to customer edge router number 1 and customer edge router number 2. Let me do it quick because this is just copy and paste to implement, and commands I have already explained to you guys. Now it will be easy, I guess. We can see from both sides. So we copy from the customer edge router number 1. If I make a mistake, guys, please watch and then tell me, because this might happen that we copy something and we paste something else. So we need to paste in proper windows. Run one more time. Done. Then we go to customer A CE2. Configure. We paste the commands one time. Then we paste the commands one more time. If something is missed, then it will paste because of the delay. Okay, then we go to customer B, CE number 1, customer B, configure terminal. Also, when you guys will be doing the practice, so please expect that you will do so many mistakes which you need to observe and correct, and you will do the troubleshooting as well. Try to do it yourself using your command, don't copy paste, so that you can learn, you can make mistakes as well. Okay, so this one is done now. Our providers and customer edges are done. Let's go to our PEs now, provider edge routers as well. So we copy basics for PE1. We go to our PE1, configure. I think we did a mistake when we pasted something wrong in the start. We will have to remove some configuration, but we can do it later as well. Okay, one more time so that we don't miss. Okay, now here we have to configure the VRFs as well. So IP VRF, customer A, RD, RT, everything. So let me copy this one to PE1 as well. Done. Next time it should be quick. So I'm still on PE1. Now we have to do the core routing. We have to exit one time, then core routing, which is IGP, which is OSPF, then PE to CE routing. Here we have to assign to the correct VRFs as well. So sorry, let me disable those sounds. Okay, so then the last point is PE to PE peering. Let's go back here, exit, and then we type that command, exit, and type one more time so that if we miss something. Let's go to PE number 2, our last router, and then we put the remaining commands in there. Same thing, we need to do our basics first, means IP addresses, MPLS, enabling, SEF enabling, everything. Paste again. Then we go to configuration of our VRFs as well. So 2 VRFs has been configured. You can see, guys, which I explained to you, that it says IPv4 disabled and address removed due to enabling VRF. So that's why you have to re-input the IP address immediately again. This is the point I was explaining to you at that time. Now we go to core routing, which is OSPF. Then we have to go to PE and CE routing, means what it is facing towards CE. We also have to do the configuration on normal BGP, but based on the different VRF. So you can see we are configuring VRF A, VRF B as well in here. Then PE to PE peering based on the IPPNv4. In peering from 5 to 6. So we are in 5 and we are peering to 6. Let me do one more time. Okay, done. But let me just see what we did a small mistake in initially. We pasted in the wrong window. Let me just correct that mistake. because on CE1 we don't want any interface which is belonging to the other side. So show IP interface brief. This one has 10.0.3, which is fine. 12.12.12.1. This shouldn't be there. Configure interface FA0/1. No IP address, and then please shut down also. Loopback is 333, and then do show IP protocols, which is BGP only. Okay, so seems good. Okay guys, so I have done my configuration now. Let's see whether we get our results or not. So first result, what I should expect is that, and then I'll see your questions as well, is that SN says, I think we need to delete previously configuration. Okay, yes, SN, I have done. So show IP route, first of all. So do you see a route which is going towards 777 only? So is this configuration correct or not, guys? So we are seeing a route from this customer to this customer, which has the loopback of 7.7.7.7. This one has 3.3.3. Right? So this configuration is how to go well watch video. Yes, of course, no problem. You have to watch this 2, 3, 4 times, I think, to get all the concepts. SN says, what about 10.0? SN 10.0 is our peering with our PE. Of course, this route will be there. So of course, this route will be there. So you will also face 10.0.0. So this is natural. That route should come. If this comes, it means this pairing is okay. And then up to the other side, the pairing is also okay. Right? So now you guys need to pay attention and ask me questions so that your concepts are clear. Then you can watch the route again. So everything is correct until here, right? So here I am seeing a connected route, which is my local 333 route. We don't care. We just need to care about this BGP route. It means now I can reach to the other side. But what is not here is 444. So this one is 4.4.4. This one is 4.4, so they should not come. Also, this one is, I think, 8.8.8.8. So 8 and 4 should be able to see each other, and 7 and 3 should be able to see each other. This is the thing which we want to achieve. So let's go to C number 2. Let me see. Show IP route. You can also do a ping as well. So if the route is coming, it means the ping will also be 100%. There is no doubt. So ping 7.7.7.7 source loopback 0. So you can see the ping is going 100%. This is how you ping from router to router. So it means if you place a client here, if you place a computer here, that will also be able to ping. Go back to the other side. Here we can see there is a route which is through BGP to the other side 333. Let's go to customer number B now. Show IP route. So here the route is not coming, guys. Here on customer BCE1, there seems to be a problem because the route is not coming. Let me see what is the problem. And on the other side, is the route coming? Does anyone know why the route is not coming? Let me make it big as well. Okay, so green network, the routes are not coming. So this route from here to here, because this one is 4.4.4.4 and this one was 8.8.8.8. While the blue network, this one was 3.3.3.3. It is written here, you can see, I'm writing it big, 7.7.7. So they should be able to ping, which is fine. But this green one is having a problem. So let's troubleshoot. It's a good chance that we also have a problem. I don't know why, but let's see. So show IP interface brief. This is how we start. First, we need to see whether interfaces are up or not. 10.0.0.4 according to the topology. And the customer BCE1 should have 10.0.0.4, which is right. Loopback should be 444, which is also right. Show IP BGP summary means which routes do we have, and the route is also active means this pairing between BGPs is fine. Let's check on the other side. Customer B, show IP interface brief. Interfaces are up. Whether BGP is also up or not, let's see. Show IP BGP summary. So here we can see this is also active and it has learned from this side. Now let's go to PE1 and we see show IP interface brief. IPs are up. Show IP route VRF customer A. So customer A routes are there, 3 and 7, which means blue network. Let's see. Show IP route customer B. No route is there. It means there is a problem with that kind of VRF, with this green VRF. Let's see where is the problem. Most probably it will be on PE. So show run. First we see show IP BGP summary, which means that it needs to show us the route. Show IP BGP summary is getting the neighbor 555. Okay. Then show IP BGP, nothing. Show IP BGP, nothing in the GRT. Also, like I explained, there will be two different. So this is our show IP route means this is our global routing table means it is receiving everything. So now the problem is here. So most probably we need to troubleshoot our CE1, CE2, PE1 and PE2 as well. So I know the lecture has been a little bit long, but it is being recorded as well. So let's troubleshoot together. Customer B. First of all, I think we can just paste our scripts again. Most probably script has been missed. So guys, I have found the issue why this second one was not able to get through. So this interface on provider router, this one, it was shut down. So I just checked the whole configuration and FA0/1, which belonged to customer number B, this was shut down. I don't know, might be it did not take the command or might be when we gave the commands in multiple. So I have just enabled that interface like no shutdown. And now everything you can see BGP has come up and now the routes are also being learned from the customer B as well. So this was a small mistake. Here BGP neighborship has also come up. So that was the only small thing, but it was not a mistake from our side. I think when we were giving multiple commands, then it missed just one command. So clear on this one, SN and everyone? So we say show IP route and now it will be able to ping as well, customer B. So ping, what is the other side? 8.8.8 source loopback 0. So yes, the ping is 100% now. So both can ping now. Okay, thank you guys. Thank you for joining today's session. So we'll hold now. You guys have to also tell the admin that which session do you want next. So we are usually holding after 2 weeks or a month, these kind of. So maybe next we can plan on BGP or OSPF, LSA types in detail, or you can suggest any other topic which you guys want. Then we'll see you again. Thank you. Yes, Toby, you can ask the question. Please write here. Abgavo says BGP. Okay, sure, we will. Kolibe says thank you. Welcome, Kolibe. We'll share this recording, which will include this problem. So guys, let me explain again. The problem with the second part was this one, that one of the interface, it did not take command, might be GNS3 issue or might be we issued multiple commands. So this interface belonging to customer B was shut down. So it's good that it gave us the opportunity as well to troubleshoot. So I just did no shutdown. I didn't do anything else. And then after that, you can see BGP neighborship, everything came up and now the routes are also available. I'm able to ping as well. So this was a small thing which was holding the second part. So we'll see you in the next session. Thank you guys. Thank you for joining. Toby says, which part did you stop the recording? It was the whole session, Toby. You will get the full recording. Don't worry. Thank you guys. Thank you for joining. Today we'll see you again. You can contact admin on this number. If you want any session, if anybody is interested in CCNP, you want CCNA, anything, you guys can talk to admin.